What's up, guys? I'm filling all the holes from the old transducer from the 1995 hummingbird. There's 8 holes, 9 holes that I need to fill, and I'm going to use Cabosil and polyester resin, and mix it up like peanut butter, and then smooth it in the holes. And once it's done, you can't really tell there's ever a hole there if you cover it with a gel coat afterwards. I'm just going to use the Cabosil and the polyester resin, and because the new transducer is going to cover most of the holes anyhow, so it's not going to be a cosmetic thing. I've already skipped ahead and used the mounting template for the new Garmin, and I got the new Garmin wire already run. It's the GT-56 for side scan, and all I got to do is fill these holes up, let it dry, and then put the screws in and a little bit of 5200 for the new transducer, and then tidy up the wire, and then I'm ready to go find some fish on side scan. I'm pretty excited about it. I haven't ever had a side scan transducer before, so looking forward to finding some bream and some crappie, some bream beds, and get on those fish a little better. All right, so I went to Ace Hardware, got a mixing cup. I know it's about 7 cc's per pint of MEKP, which is a hardener for the polyester resin. I don't need a whole pint, that's a whole lot, but it is easier to mix. So I'm gonna go a half, I'm gonna go 8 ounces, and I'm gonna do 3.5 MEKP to get the consistency I want, and the amount's gonna be way too much still, but it's gonna be hard to tell. The lowest it goes down to is 50 milliliters or 4 ounces. So I'm just gonna do half of a pint at 8 ounces and make it work. Get the polyester resin. Now, I've got a 5-gallon bucket, so this is gonna be a pain because I do more than just small repairs. I'm just gonna pour a little in there and hope it's close. Alright, that's right at 8 ounces. Didn't spill too much, so that's good. 8 ounces. Once I put this MEKP in there, the hardener, it's gonna take about 5 to 10 minutes before it's too tacky to use. So I learned this from last time, so I'm gonna get this Cabosil. I thought I had an open one already, but evidently not. This is some really light stuff, and it's, in lack of better words, basically fiberglass, so you don't want to breathe it in. So I'm going to do it as far away from my face as possible. People that aren't rednecks like me would probably just wear a mask, but I got a stir stick, and I'm just going to dabble a little bit in there and mix it up slowly. Get it a little bit thicker. It takes a little while to mix up. Once I get it just a little bit thicker, I'll put it in the hardener, mix it up the rest of the way, and then go to town. I've asked the hardware store a couple times to get me some syringe that you use for your son's medication or something like that. Works the best. But they still don't have any. They normally order it if you ask for something they don't have, and they do. Normally pretty good about that, but they didn't order it. So now I'm going to use the piece off the NyQuil bottle. Shows milliliters, and for 1 pint, again, it's 7 cc's or 7 milliliters. So I'm just going to put a little bit in there, 3.5, probably do 4, just to make sure it's good to go. Consistency still kind of runny. Put a little bit more in there. I'm trying to get the consistency of peanut butter, so when I put it in the hole, it doesn't try to ooze out. It's going to stay in there nice and thick, and I don't have to worry about trying to clean up afterwards. if it does run out and you get something all over the boat, you can use xylene and it'll take it right out, clean it right up for you. It's getting pretty thick. I'm gonna need a little bit more, but before it gets too thick, I'm gonna add the hardener so I can get the hardener nice and mixed up in here. You can see now it doesn't run so much. So I got my little NyQuil bottle measurer, and it only has a 5, 10, or 15 milliliter, so I don't suppose I'll have an issue if I just go ahead and just use 5. All right, I got our 5 in there. Pour it in, mix it up, and try to work fast from this point. Because you ain't got a whole lot of time to work with it. And this is a Bondo, I don't even know what it's called, a Bondo applier, I'm not sure, but it's flexible and you can push it in the holes a little better. So I just added a little more Cabosil at the same time as a hardener, just to thicken it up even more. I want it really super thick like peanut butter, so I put it in there, it hardens up, it doesn't ooze out. I'm getting the most coverage because it is a hole that goes in through the gel coat into the foam, because this is a Boston Whaler. So now it's so thick it hardly won't even come out of the cup. That's what I'm looking for. I don't need too much, so I'm just going to put a little from the mixing stick right on the pad. I'm going to go over, get a better view. And go over and just push it in, wipe it off, push it in, wipe it off, push it in, and then you can come back and wipe it off, push it in, just like drywall. Couldn't think of that for a minute. Drywall, mud. Just push it in. I made a little bit of a mess. I'm just going to dab a little bit more on there, see if I can't push any more inside those holes. These two holes here are for the new transducer, and this one are for the wire for the new transducer. So now I'm gonna go get some paper towels and wipe off the excess. I actually changed my mind. I'm gonna use a rag, hopefully, because the paper towel will go straight through. This is old rag that I won't be using again because it's going to be all covered in fiberglass. But last time I didn't do this, and that's why I bought another one today, because I didn't have any more. Now, my hands are starting to get tacky because I used the rag too much. So I got some paper towels as well, just to get any more of this little residue that I went over with. And then when it hardens up, I can use some xylene, and it will take off any of the extra. But overall, I can't believe there's that many holes for that old of a transducer when the new one only has 2. But I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to turn it back on whenever I get the new transducer put on. Alright folks, here's the transducer plate. Now put it on. I got the screws in. I'm gonna go get a screwdriver and tighten them up the rest of the way. I like to make it to where it's all the way up. Push the transducer all the way up, because when I get in really shallow water, I've done it before where I've touched the bottom and broke the transducer. And this transducer is like 500 bucks. So I put it up a little bit, and then when I install it, I'm gonna tilt the unit up. The reason you want to tilt it up is that when you think about it, in a small boat, this boat's only 13 foot. When you're in the back of the boat sits down, so it's going to angle the transducer back down straight. If you're looking straight in the water, it's going to pick up the best image and what's really around the boat, versus if it's straight or flat and you sit on the back of the boat, it points more down and you're looking more in front of your boat. Alright, just got a regular screwdriver now. Just gonna push it up, hold it in, and tighten it in the rest of the way. Alright, that's in. Gotta get some more bolts, hold this transducer on. Slide it in. Doesn't gotta be perfect at first. Just want to make sure the teeth line up. I'm gonna get this nut on there. Once it gets snug, I'll angle it the way I want to. I'm holding it in there because it's got little plastic teeth that hold the nut, but if I push the bolt all the way through, it won't hold it. Before it gets too tight, I'm going to bring it up. You can hear it clicking on the teeth. That's almost straight flat right there. Maybe one more notch down. I'm going to bring it up one notch above. That way, when I sit in the back of the boat, you see how it's angled back a little bit? When I sit in the back of the boat, it's just a guesstimate, but I'm going to play with it, and then if I need to, I can always come back down a notch. But regardless, I got it below, above, just slightly above the bottom of the hole. I know that's not recommended, but if you fish in shallow water like I do all the time, or go to the sandbar with a wife and the bottom of the boat hits the bottom by the sandbar, then I don't want this expensive transducer to be damaged. Tighten this baby up the rest of the way. Looks like it was in between two teeth. That may be a little too much. I think I want up another one. Back it off. That looks better. Tighten back up like that. Nice and snug. All I gotta do now is pull this wire back through the boat and make it tidy. So I got it run over here through the hole, and then it's just the Boston 13-foot Boston whaler, but it does have a center console. I got the wire pulled already. There's the cable for it. Comes through the hole, and I'll tidy it up. This is where the old hummingbird used to be, right here in this hole. So I'm gonna come up and just temporary for now, I'll keep the plug underneath since I keep the boat in the garage when not in use. And then say I need to take the Garmin to my big boat, then I can just disconnect just the fittings and leave the Garmin, leave the boat in the garage. The unit's tilted down like this, so it'll get outside the garage, and it's just on the ram mount.